You're also going to have to
enable you to share your screen.
Yeah, and maybe remind me if I get stuck on how to do it. I won't need to do it yet, but
Okay.
It's been a while.
How old are you? How far over the age of 70?
I'm 82, 29 going on 107.
Yeah, got the soul of a great grandmother.
I really, really do. No, great grandfather, like crabby man that's been around the block a couple times. Fought in a few wars. That's like the persona I go for. Also, I'm very congested. I apologize in advance. Our house has been super, super sick since last Thursday. I flew to Cleveland and back for the day for 2 final walkthroughs for clients. Then I picked up some nastiness. So I feel like dog doo-doo, but I did my hair today and it felt really good.
Is your house actually that cute in the background, or is that a fake Zoom background?
Yes, I love home decor and we have no children or pets. So our house is kind of always perfect.
Wonderful. Congratulations. You really made it.
Yeah. So, like if the throw pillows on one of the couches are like not perfect, I'm like, and I have to fix it all the time. So,
and but then it doesn't get ruined, so that's nice too.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a good skill to have though, when you are an STR host for short-term rentals, because everything needs to be perfect all the time for your guests. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's a good strong suit. But yeah, so
ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you, if you don't already know who she is, this is Kelsey Porter. I met her face-to-face in what month?
October, beginning of October.
Yeah, about October-ish, in what city?
Des Moines,
Iowa. What's my name? Okay. Kelsey's an agent with me at EXP, and it was kind of cool, like meeting her IRL. We had, been on Zoom calls and stuff before and everything. And we hit it off immediately because we have like the same type of like aggressive personality of like learning and like being really good at what we do. And so we kind of like bonded over that. We were in an ethics class together, and we had like this like healthy competitiveness, and we're like trying to like find the right answer to everything, because it was like one of these interactive classes. And I like really developed this this high respect for you, basically. And so when you were telling me that you do short-term rentals, Airbnbs and stuff like that, that's something that I'd never dipped my toe in, never gotten to know yet. And so I definitely wanted to have you in here and drop all your knowledge with us about it. So thanks for taking the time to come on in.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I've only like presented about short-term rentals once, and that was in EXP World for one of our Explode series at the beginning, I think, with Holly. And that I did a little different. That I did like intro to short-term rentals, and I did a lot of like high surface level stuff that we should all know as realtors if we ever even want to consider helping someone buy a short-term rental, like one of our investors or something. Things that in my opinion, every realtor should know. Otherwise you have no business helping someone buy a short-term rental if you don't know those things. And then I also got like the deeper dive, because I think a lot of agents are also curious in short-term rentals because they want to invest themselves. They see, like, as realtors, we all know the value of investing in real estate, and specifically short-term rentals. In the recent probably 2 years, we all see the value in it. So in that presentation, I did kind of like intro to short-term rentals was the theme. This one is going to be the do's and don'ts of short-term rentals. I think that it's like a sexier name. People, like want to hear like, ooh, what to do and what not to do. And I thought I'd start off with letting everyone know, we've been short-term rental hosts for a whole year now. We're going on our 4th quarter of being super hosts, which is really, really tough, even though it sounds really easy to attain and not like that special. It's really hard to maintain that status once you achieve it. And once we finish out this quarter, I believe in January, we should be able to get a gift card from Airbnb because we have held that status for 4 consecutive quarters, which is huge. And we're really excited. So I also thought that I would start with what got us into short-term rentals. We are big readers. Sandy was not wrong when she said, I like to be an expert on things and I like to learn things. So I thought I'd share books. So Rich Dad Poor Dad is like the Bible of all real estate investing. Any presenter you ever go to, like, I swear to God, 99 out of 100 times, they're going to say that this is how they got their start. This book is everything. It's on audio everywhere too. I've listened to it twice, read it once. My other half, Carson, he has also read it a couple times. It's huge. And I actually have a really special connection to this book because I lived this. I am lucky enough to have 2 dads and 2 moms because my parents got divorced when I was 3. And I have experienced one of my dads had everything and lost it all with some bad investments, real estate and not real estate. And I have another dad that had nothing and grew up in a shack with no running water and an outhouse. And he now has everything due to his investing in real estate over the years. So everyone loves this book. I really love this book, and I can really relate to it. And that's a big part of why I'm in real estate in general, let alone investing. So huge book, awesome. Fish. Another book I think every realtor should read. It's all about making the best of crappy situations. It's about this lady in business that lives in Seattle, and she goes to the fish market where they're like, and if you've never been to Seattle, never been to the fish market, it's awesome. It totally lives up to the hype. They throw fish around and they work in nasty fish guts all day, and yet they love what they do, and they just spread so much cheer. And I think that that's huge. So that's a huge part of my business as a realtor and an investor.
Can you tell me the author real quick on Fish?
Yeah, so that one's weird. Who so Stephen C. London.
Okay.
Harry Paul, John Christian. Yeah, it's a really short, easy read too, which is huge for me. I'm a very slow reader, and Carson reads very fast. And since we both love to read, we a lot of times the really good ones like these we'll both read. But a huge cheat that we do is we give each other the Spark Notes. If anyone remembers Spark Notes from high school and college reading, he'll read a book and be like, listen, you're not going to like it. It reads really slow, but here's all the Spark Notes. And then I'll do the same thing. Instead of both of us having to read every single book out there ever, which is impossible. This is the third one that was obviously a huge impact for our Airbnb business. I actually read this while we were furnishing our first Airbnb. And that's how I knew that we were made to do this, to be hosts, was because 90% of what's in here, I already knew just as being a realtor, being a good hostess, when we have people in town, because we have family and friends from everywhere. And then also just being an Airbnb guest and traveling and staying in short-term rentals all the time. 90% of it I already knew, and it just re-solidified those things that I was already thinking about as we were furnishing our first rental. But this book filled in that 10% gap of things that we didn't really think about. So this was huge. And it's not really a super popular or common book. And a lot of people don't know about this, even people that have Airbnbs. But this is great. All of these you can get on Amazon. So those were 3 most influential, in my opinion, books on not only my business as a realtor, but also, yeah. And this is what I'm reading now. Huge fan. I'm actually reading it through a second time before I start my next book, House Fire. It's all about how to gain financial independence. That's what FIRE stands for, financial independence through real estate. So investing, that's huge. Aisha, I think you'll really love this if you haven't read it before. Just with your love for finances and being frugal and smart with your money. And then these are the 2 books I have on my agenda next. This is The BRRRR Method. The author is Alan Corey, Alan Corey, Corey, for House Fire. But yeah, so these two books are on my agenda next. Haven't read them yet. Can't wait to. The one is The Burr Method, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, which is like an investment strategy. And the other one is Managing Rental Properties, just in general, because I manage our rental portfolio. I'm our like built-in property manager. So those are what I kind of wanted to start with because I love books and I wanted to share.
What's the author on each of those last two?
Oh yeah. So these are both Bigger Pockets books.
I'm going to link all of these, you guys. Don't worry.
Yeah, all of them you can find on Amazon. These are
I'll
both
link them in the chat for you.
Good idea. These are this one's by David Green. He's one of the hosts of the Bigger Pockets podcast. If you have any interest whatsoever in retiring before the age of 3,000 in today's inflationary world we live in, you need to be investing in real estate. And to start listening to podcasts, specifically Bigger Pockets is the way to go, whether you're working out or you're driving to showings or you're traveling over the holidays. Listen to Bigger Pockets. Some of their episodes are obviously more relevant to what your goals are or your clients' goals are, whatever, than others. But I listen to every single one of them and I'm obsessed. And then, yeah, they write books, the guys that do that podcasts. And then they also, so this one's Heather and Brandon Turner. They're the original, Brandon Turner's the original host of the podcast, and now he lives in Hawaii and lives this like insanely amazing life that he's created for him and his family because of real estate investing. So yeah, those are great books. I'll let you know what I think of them when I get around to them. My list of books grows every day. It's sickening. But okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's see here. So I'm going to start with, I'm kind of going along with one of my blogs from my website, which was short-term rental do's and don'ts. So I'll start with one do, and then I'll go to one don't, and then one do and one don't. So the first do is do invest in smart home technology. You absolutely need a keypad on your front door. This, in our opinion, is the best keypad on the market. There's an app that hooks up to it. I give every guest their own new code. I really want to start doing the last 4 digits of their phone number because who can't remember their own last 4 digits of their phone number? I think that's going to be really easy. But we put this on our short-term rental doors. They were really hard to find. You actually could not find these except on eBay for like $800 this summer. But now you might be able to find them still. I like stocked up on it. So this is a brand new one. We're not even using it because I wanted to stock up while they had them in stock. But this is a great keypad on your front door. That's everything, right? Like I remember the first Airbnb we ever rented was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was awesome. It was on Mount Washington. It had this gorgeous view of Pittsburgh and the two rivers coming together. And it was up on this like kind of mountain because it's at the tip of the Appalachian Mountains. And we had to like meet the guy that was the host when we got there. And I remember being like, oh, this is fine. Like, luckily Carson and I, are pretty good with people, but I also hate people. So like, I don't want to go on vacation and like have to talk to someone if I don't have to. So he had to like give us the key and tell us like how to get in. And I was like, this is dumb. So keypads are a must. You absolutely need one. Security cameras. That's another big thing. We swear by Ring. I wanted to another little prop. This is a battery for that like pops into our exterior cameras. We have 360 almost view with our cameras at our duplex. So we run a duplex with one side. Each side is a 2-bed, 1.5 bath short-term rental. But this is like an example of a Ring battery. Whenever I'm over there and they're getting low, I just pop other ones in and take the low ones home and charge them on my own time. And then, we've always got charged batteries in the rotation. We love this. Other people swear by Arlo and a bunch of others. I love on the Ring app, it's all together. We've got all our different properties and our primary residence, and we can toggle back and forth to the different addresses. So I just love their app, and the video quality is huge with Ring too. My dad and stepmom had Arlo at their house down in Florida and swore by it. And then he saw the video quality at our duplex when I installed those cameras, and he was like, this is so much better. So now he's on board with Ring too. And he's one of the most stubborn people I know. So trust me, it's all about Ring. A smart thermostat is huge for short-term rentals as well. We use Nest. We can control it from our app from anywhere. You know how people are, they click buttons, kids click buttons, they click a bunch of buttons on their way out while their parents aren't looking, and then they leave, and then maybe your cleaner doesn't get there for 2 or 3 days, and now the air conditioning's pumping in the dead of winter. So we just like to have control from anywhere, because we pay the utilities, right? With short-term rentals, you can't ask your people that are there week to week to pay their utilities. So we love Nest thermostats, and they're easy to install as well. And you might be able to get a huge discount on a Nest thermostat through your gas company, which this is also good as a realtor to know and share with your clients. Gas and electric companies, sometimes they'll give you huge promo codes for smart thermostats because they want you to use smart thermostats. Then they can kind of keep track of all your metrics. You can keep track of your metrics. It's more eco-friendly or whatever they want to sell you on, but they'll give you huge discounts usually on those. And then the last smart home technology item I wanted to talk about was a smart TV. You do not need cable. I don't know who on here has cable anymore at home. I do not have cable. We have not had cable in 7 years since we graduated college, and in college we never had cable either. So for 11 years now, we have not lived with cable. And people don't expect that at their short-term rentals anymore, but have a smart TV where you can pull up Netflix and you could log into your own account and then feel like you're at home watching Netflix. Peacock, Disney Plus for kids and all that stuff, like a smart TV is great. So we mount those to the wall and have those easily accessible in the living room. We do not do TVs in every bedroom. Anyone that wants to watch TV in bed typically travels with like an iPad or a computer. So it's just unnecessary space on the walls because TVs aren't pretty. So instead of mounting TVs in every bedroom, we decorate and make people feel homey. And if they want to watch TV in bed, they can get their laptop out. And no one's ever complained about that, knock on wood. But yeah, so that's some smart home technology. And then so my first don't I wanted to talk about was don't use amateur photos, which I think we can all relate to being in real estate. Hire a professional to shoot great photos. For about $200, you can get 5-star pictures of the place you have worked so hard to transform. So trust me, it's worth every penny. First impressions are everything. Like, I think they say like 90% plus of buyers see their house for the first time anymore online. I'm surprised it's not 100%, to be honest, but same thing with short-term rentals is all online. You're booking it all online. So 100% of those people are seeing the place they're going to stay when they come to your town online for the first time. So make those photos great. Like, nothing grinds my gears more than like a listing that does pretty well and is pretty booked up and they're pretty good hosts. And then I see their photos online and I'm like, oh my God, like, think how even great of a host you could be if you just got some professional photos. It's $200. That's nothing. And then you have them forever. You own those photos forever. And I'll show you my listings as well. So some tricks in the photos. So I'm going to share my screen now, if that's cool. I don't know.
So you'll do the share screen arrow, and then you're going to pick what you're going to share. And then you have to press, yeah, I really, really want to share.
Oh yeah, I really, really want to share.
Good job, girl. You did it.
Cool. So this was our second short-term rental that we've furnished. And you'll notice if you scroll down, so it says I'm Superhost, which is like, oh yeah, Superhost. But if you scroll down, there's no reviews on Airbnb for this. And that's because we've killed it. And since we furnished this place at the beginning of May, we've had travel nurses in here. They moved in May 15th, and they've just been re-upping their contracts with their hospitals. So every 3 months, they've been re-upping since May, and they're just now moving out on the 13th of this month. So we have killed it with the midterm rental is what I would consider that. Midterm is typically when you have 30-day plus rentals. So we've kind of honed in this side for more of midterm rentals. And we intentionally did that when we furnished it. So you'll see it's not real Iowa themey. It is more boho, feels very homey. And could just be comfortable for anyone's lifestyle. This is a huge differentiator for our Airbnbs. This was a stupid little closet that has carpet in it and like no purpose, just white walls and carpet. And there was like no way to get up in there. And it's off the bedroom that we put multiple beds in. So not like considered the master or primary. So this stupid closet, we furnished our first Airbnb on the other side of this duplex that has this same weird little closet. And Carson was like, I don't know what we're going to do with that. That thing's stupid. Let's just tell the photographer to not like include that in the photos. And I was like, no, wait, let's see what my creative mind can do here. So I just like envisioned this reading nook that was just cozy and like photographed super well and had this like statement wallpaper wall. So I'll show you our other side of this Airbnb or of this duplex as well, because that's the one we have 1 million reviews on, that runs more like a traditional Airbnb, but it's got this same idea, this little reading nook. I sat on the floor in Menards. Sandy will probably appreciate this. The first time we did the reading nook on the other side, I was sitting on the floor in Menards for like 40 minutes in the plumbing aisle, making this ladder, because I just had this vision of this like really industrial pipe ladder to get up there with a couple steps. And like 800 men stopped by, contractors, people that worked at Menards, whatever. Ma'am, do you need help? And I was like, no, I don't need help. I know what I'm doing. And then a couple guys were like standing there watching me for like 10 minutes. And finally they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm building a ladder for a reading nook. Leave me alone. Because they all think that we don't know what we're doing in Menards, but I've spent probably 4 months in total at Menards in my whole life. And it's only going to grow. So that's my favorite store. So that's our reading nook, which is a huge differentiation. Obviously, I had our photographer really showcase it because it's awesome and people love it and they talk about it in our reviews all the time. So, if you don't have interest in maybe ever hosting and buying and hosting short-term rentals yourself, but you want to help investor clients, this is a huge takeaway that I want you to take away. This differentiation detail is huge. So if you are helping people in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, look for, great Airbnbs, and you've got 2 houses next to each other, same location, and they're both updated. They've both been flipped. They're about the same size, square footage, and bathroom count. Everything's the same, but one has some cool little feature that you could highlight, like this reading nook. That's the one you need to suggest to your clients to go after harder, because that's going to be a huge bonus for their short-term rental, is like a funky little detail like that. So I'm going to exit out of there. So you can see our duplex is super updated. So I had like a really nice, I guess, blank slate to start decorating from. This is a stupid little thing too. When you're furnishing and photographing Airbnbs, this kitchen photo, you'll see a tea kettle. It's been proven, we've read it in many short-term rental books and articles and videos and stuff that we watch, that Airbnbs with a tea kettle on the stove and pictures like rent better. And I will say my mom hates coffee, so and loves tea. So like for her, if we were traveling with her and an Airbnb provided tea options and a tea kettle, she would actually love that, and then probably be like, oh, you need to talk about it in the review. So I see where they're going with this tea kettle thing, and it's cute, but what a stupid little thing. Like, so stupid, but it works. Little tea kettle. So this Airbnb has a king bed in the primary bedroom, which has the pink pillows on it. And then the secondary bedroom with the reading nook has a queen bed and a twin XL. Our other side is a little bit different. So we only sleep 5 people on this side. And a lot of hosts, when they furnish their rentals, think, or when they're shopping for a house to rent out on Airbnb, they're thinking like, oh, we have to sleep as many people as possible. Total myth. If you have a 2-bed, 2 full bath house and you sleep 15 people, I mean, people are going to be miserable and that's going to impact their stay. That's really not who you should be targeting anyways, is the huge groups. With a smaller place, like accommodate what's best for the unit. So ours is 5 or 6 for 2-bed, 2 bath, and people seem to love it. The groups of 5 or 6, it's, I'm sure, tight. We live in our rentals while we furnish them, so that we don't forget anything. And it's very helpful when we do that. We can really speak to the place, and we know it inside and out. So yeah, these are, this is another little picture I wanted to talk about. The stovetop with all the pots and pans out on it. Sounds really dumb. This guy we follow on YouTube, I forget what his name is. This was like his idea. In his short-term rentals, he likes to show a lot of the kitchen accessories that he offers in his furnished rentals in photos. So we kind of got all our pots and pans out, just showing people when they're flipping through the photos, like, oh, they like really thought of everything. I could cook in here for Thanksgiving if we happen to be traveling over Thanksgiving or whatever. So washer and dryer, don't cheap out on washer and dryer. We've learned that the hard way. Washer and dryer is everything with your turnover for Airbnbs. So something that works super well and is, obviously we had to go stackable unit in this because of the space that we had, but we wish we didn't have to go stackable because a full size washer and dryer is needed even for like 3 or 4 beds, because that's your biggest enemy is your cleaning. And when you're turning over your place, you've got a lot of linens, so many linens. Coffee bar, that's a no-brainer. Have options. Don't be stupid. Here's another keypad. This was actually not a smart keypad like our one that we love, because they didn't make it, or they ran out of them. It was sold out everywhere. So we put like a traditional Schlage keypad on there, which I don't love. But again, we've had the nurses.
Which one do you love?
This one.
Schlage.
Yeah. First of all, every Schlage, every doorknob in every house you ever have should be Schlage. Don't go Quickset. Quickset sucks. Schlage is where it's at. I can say that because my dad built houses growing up, and he swears by Schlage as well. But yeah, the Schlage N code, it ties into our Wi-Fi, and then that's where we can give people their codes that they want. Their last 4 digits of their phone number or whatever. So this boho side, since we've had the travel nurses in there for so long, it's been the same people in there for 8, 9 months now. So, or 7 months. So it really didn't matter that we couldn't get our preferred smart keypad because they were in there for a long time. But as soon as they move out, I'm putting this new one on there. That's why I have this one ready to go. It's for when the nurses move out. But yeah, so here's our living room. You can see the smart TV in the corner mounted cleanly and crisply. A big thing with furnishing too that people don't think about is between your living room and eating kitchen area or whatever, have a room where all people that you could potentially host. So if you're saying you can host 6 people, there needs to be 6 seats within talking distance in one room, because when a group's traveling and they have their coffee in the morning, they need to be able to talk about what are they going to do today? Where are they going to eat? What attractions are they going to go to? Like, think as if you're traveling with your friends or your family and what you would expect and want. So we believe in even if our living rooms aren't big enough to seat on couches and chairs everyone, at least we have this pub table in the corner that 2 people could sit at as well, and everyone can converse comfortably about their day and their trip. That's a big one. our little salt and pepper shakers. They're so stupid. They don't even really match or like go with the theme, but I saw those and we like couldn't stop thinking about them. So those are like our little inside joke guys because they're little stupid guys. Okay. On your table or, your entryway table or something right when you walk in to your main area, you should have a welcome binder. I believe every Airbnb should have one. I have a really great template that I've spent way too much time making on Canva. And it gives our guests everything they could ever need. We recently had a young hipstery group in from Washington, D.C. And I was like, oh man, they're going to really hate Des Moines coming from DC. Like, Des Moines is going to be boring, but they like loved their trip. They had such a good time. And she, in her review, the girl was like going on and on and on about our welcome binder and how we provided all these things and how, thoughtfully curated it was. And we put a little about us page too, just to like make it seem more authentic and more homey. And we have like cute professional photos of Carson and I in there. And we just explained to them like, look, we've got full-time jobs, but we still love doing this. And so people kind of like give you grace because they feel like they know you. So if something goes wrong, they feel like they're friends with you already. So they're, rather than freaking out because everything's not perfect, if God forbid something will go wrong, they're like, hey, Kelsey, so sorry to bother you, but this happened. And I'm like, oh, no big deal. I'm going to get someone over there as soon as possible, or I'll come over there or whatever. So, cause shit happens, right? With everything, shit happens. And if you don't think shit happens, shit's going to happen a lot. But yeah, so these are all the photos of that one. I am going to, so that's the outside of our duplex. Don't mind the ugly shed on the right. That's going to be colored to match the other one on the left, which you'll see in a different photo, but it's really cute. But yeah. Oh, and a huge thing when you're helping your investor clients or you yourself are shopping for an Airbnb, don't buy a discounted property with like a shitty location. And I don't mean in like a bad neighborhood or like far away from all the fun stuff to do or whatever like that. That's not what I mean. I mean a crappy location in the sense that like you have to find a back alley that's not on Google Maps in order to find the garage and driveway to park in. And, there's no street parking because it's illegal in that town to park on the street overnight. And, I've stayed in Airbnbs where they're like, take a left, take a right, take a left, take a right, and then go through the neighbor's carport and then park here. And I'm like, this is a pain in the ass. Like, what am I doing? Have like shop properties that are very easily identifiable from the street. And the parking situation makes sense too. Again, we sleep 5 on one side, 6 on the other, and our driveways can accommodate that, and the street parking too as well in front. Not a ton of people on our street park on the street overnight. So those, if we have guests that are each driving individually from other areas, they can all park in the driveway. Like I think our driveways can fit comfortably 3 cars on each side of the duplex. So, you can imagine how much easier that is for our guests and just smoother of a stay, because that's the worst when you have to, God, I hate Airbnbs where I have to park in crazy stupid spots, which is why downtown condos, as like bougie as they feel, aren't what we shop when we shop short-term rentals, because 1, I hate HOAs and everything they believe in, and 2, the parking on those really sucks, and for those of us that are suburban, it really is overwhelming. So I'm going to stop share for now. And then I'm going to jump back into, I get really aggressive about my don'ts, so I apologize in advance. Don't do this, don't do this. So my next do, research your local market. I've kind of touched on this a little bit. This is something that you should start before you even buy the short-term rental. So we actually, fun little fact, ran our first Airbnb from 4 states away very successfully. We had good systems in place. We had a great, 2 great cleaners, a great maintenance guy, I did research and found a great HVAC, a great plumber, a great electrician, anything that could go wrong with a house. Just like a realtor, when I'm giving my clients, a list of, if God forbid something goes wrong with your new house you just bought from me, here's some great contacts to call. Same kind of idea, have all that ready to go, to set yourself up for success. And, so, ask yourself, like, why are people visiting that area? What are they in town for? Where are they typically coming from? What is there to do nearby? So in Des Moines, a crazy amount of things bring people here. Just the other day, we had someone request for January or February, for an archery tournament that their son is in. We have people come for, bike trails are huge in Des Moines, Iowa in general, but Des Moines has a crap ton of bike trails, and we're pretty close to the bike trails as well. So we've got people that come in for marathons, half marathons, Ironman competitions, huge RAGBRAI kind of stuff. We're really close to the Blank Park Zoo, which is the Des Moines Zoo. We're really close to downtown. So like in the wintertime, even there's a lot of concerts and conventions and all this stuff. So that's a huge part of shopping for a property to rent out for short-term rentals. And then if you want to do midterm rentals, and kind of hone in on traveling nurses or traveling professionals, where are the hospitals? Like, are you 10 minutes or less from the hospitals? Because if you're not, you might want to find a different location if you want to hone in on that, criteria, and be closer to hospitals. And this is all stuff too that like your investors are going to be so impressed if you like bring this stuff up. They're going to be like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And you're like, yeah, well, yeah, you should, because that's going to have everything to do with how well your short-term rental is going to do. And that's what you're buying this property for. But yeah, so location is everything. So my second don't accept every booking request. Something we had to learn the hard way. I think every host has to kind of learn the hard way with this. Set some standards and stick to them. Some of the short-term rental sites like Airbnb, for example, allow the host to rate the guest after their stay, as well as the guest rating your place. So if someone doesn't have any reviews on their profile because they've never rented an Airbnb before, be a little reluctant. If they sound sketchy, do yourself a favor and go with your gut. I always ask if they don't already say. Most people inquire and they say what they're in town for. I'm like, oh, we're in town for the Elton John concert with my mom for her birthday. Obviously, I don't have to ask then what they're in town for, but some people just say like, my family's coming through Des Moines, coming through town. We want to stay at your place for a week. And before I accept that request, I respond and say, cool. So, what are you guys coming through town for, so that we can best accommodate you? Make it all about them. And there's a way to do that in all of your canned messages. So you can save messages, just like in your email. You can have canned emails. You can have canned messages in Airbnb and VRBO on their platforms, so that you can kind of just have those ready to shoot out. There's also property management companies that will do that kind of stuff for you. I don't love that. I want control over it. Being a full-time realtor, I have access to my phone at all hours of the day anyway, so I'm kind of already built in for that. But other people that, have 9-to-5 jobs where they really can't be on their phone the whole time, like might want to shop some of the companies. Carson actually works for one of them. It's called Evolve. And they help manage like your platform. So like all your messaging back and forth and all that stuff, your pricing strategy and all that, which is, there's a whole science to that. And Carson does a lot of the back end stuff like that for us because he's in data analytics for said property management company. So we have a little bit of an upper hand on that. But he loves companies like AirDNA for his pricing strategy and uses that all the time. So yeah, if someone wants to book for one night and it's over a notoriously party-oriented holiday like New Year's or Cinco de Mayo, they're throwing a party and the cleanup won't be fun. So just like, it's not worth it. Reject that booking. Okay, so my third and final do is to develop a strong management team, which I've already touched on a little bit, but this is huge. It's actually everything. So whether you're managing it on your own or hiring it out, make sure that person is super passionate about short-term rentals and has customer service at the forefront of their work ethic, just like you do in your real estate business. Your number one team member is your cleaner. This is not the same type of cleaning that most maid or cleaning services offer. When we first furnished our first one, I think I called like 10 or 12 different cleaning companies, and they were all like, oh yeah, we do Airbnbs. Yeah, we do short-term rentals, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, okay, well, do you do this, this, and this? And they were like, oh yeah, no, we don't make beds. We don't do the laundry. And I'm like, well, that's like 90% of what I need. So that's a problem. So really like one-off people, like retired grandmothers that are bored and have like a ton of flexibility, like those are your perfect cleaners. And you do charge a cleaning fee. So, you can kind of take your time, like interviewing, getting the right person. What do they expect? Do they expect $20 an hour? Do they expect $50 an hour? Sometimes going with the cheapest isn't the best option. I'm the cheapest person out there, but I'll tell you what, it's sometimes worth like paying someone more because your cleaning is everything. But yeah. And so you got to find someone that knows that like, the floor doesn't need scrubbed every single time in between every single stay, because some people are cleaner than others, yet the laundry does need turned over every single time. So you need someone that's going to be smart and prioritize their cleaning. And then my last don't that I wanted to share was don't neglect your listing. So if you read up on any blog, book, article, YouTube video, listen to any podcast about short-term rentals, they're going to tell you the same thing. Constantly update your listing. Constantly be going in as much as you can, as many times a week as you can, and updating, your details, updating what amenities you provide, rotating your photos around to freshen it up a little bit, right? It's kind of like you're listing a house on the MLS. Like you don't want to set it and forget it. You kind of want to follow up with it. What's working and what's not? Do I need to take that sentence out of the broker remarks that I'm offering a $10,000 carpet credit, because my sellers, now that they've reduced 4 times, don't want to offer that anymore or whatever. Same idea, constantly be updating. There are algorithms on these short-term rental sites, just like Instagram and all that, that are going to give you priority when people are searching in your area if you are constantly updating your listing. But yeah. And then I will finish up by kind of opening up to any questions that anyone has for me, because I just gave a lot of information and I talk really fast, so I apologize. But I'm also going to share our other listing, which is the one that we run as a true Airbnb that we have a ton of reviews on, so you can kind of see what that looks like. Sandy, can you think of any questions going in that you had or that you can think of? Or
no, I just wanted to let everybody know in the chat, I was trying to keep up with everything she was saying. So what I did was I put a bunch of individual links in there. But then at the very end, I actually built out a short-term rentals Amazon idea list. And then I put the link in there of everything you were talking about, and it's all combined. So if you guys ever want to go in there and check it out, it's in there.
Love that. Yeah, I actually have a list too that I've shared with. So there was a girl that I went to college with that lives in Rochester, New York. She was kind of trolling me on social media and saw that we were doing short-term rentals, and she wanted to do her first short-term rental. So she reached out about any advice I could give, whatever. And I, shared a lot of the things I just shared with you guys. And then I also shared specific links on straight up the towels that we get, the floor mats that we get. That's
I do Amazon Basics towels because they're white and you can bleach them and they're super fluffy. Yep. And so I'm gonna throw those in that list and white shit that I know that works and stuff. So I'll keep adding to this list if anyone wants to follow that. And if you guys want to follow Kelsey's friends list, and you want to give me that link, then I'll throw that in there as well, because this will be posted to YouTube, so I can post links as well there.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. My nasally voice and all today will be all over YouTube. I love it.
I think it's sexy. So
but so this was our first furnished short-term rental. We've had this one up online for a year and have been successfully running it. You can see it's a lot more like Iowa, Des Moines themey. We furnished this with people coming in for a weekend or a week at a time in mind. Now we've had, like a month stay before, or two, but most people come in for like anywhere from 3 to like 15 days and stay in this one. So everything's very like Des Moines bikey themey. And this one we sleep 6. We went with a more expensive couch that's a pull-out, which with that comes less comfortable, which is why I don't love doing pull-outs anymore. Because like who in the group wants to sleep on a freaking pull-out? That sucks. That person's not going to have the greatest experience. So this couch was a pull-out, and you can tell that it's just mirrored. Also very updated, a clean slate. We have a queen bed in the primary bedroom with the work from home space, which is also a must. And then our little reading nook and the twin beds, twin XL beds in the other room. There's the cuter shed. You can see, again, we had to go with stackable because of the size of the closet, but I hate it. So if you can go with anything else, I would suggest it. But yeah, so this is our other original, the OG short-term rental. And my little cow guy, I love that little cow, the little yellow cow. And the little bike in the corner, it's so stupid, but I just love it. Found it at Home Goods. Coffee table book, our welcome binder again. Just tons of little details. We always keep the porch lights on. That's a little nice little hack because most people check in late at night, their first night. People love our Amish built sheds that we have on both sides. We keep them at the end of the driveway. No one needs a garage for a short-term rental. Like no one expects that. Off-street parking is a blessing in itself. So instead of like spending a bunch of money to build a garage or a carport or something, we have Amish built sheds so that people can store their bikes, since a lot of people come through town with their bikes. And a lot of people's bikes are really expensive too. So it's like, having a lock on that and keeping that. I don't know. I get bikes from Walmart, but a lot of our guests have like super nice e-bikes that they like zoom all over the place with and whatever. But yeah, and here's some of our reviews. I'll go down. Right now we're kind of in our off season. So Carson's on top of like our pricing and stuff. People obviously travel a little less to Des Moines in the wintertime. So you'll see our pricing is like a lot more reasonable than it typically is throughout the year. And there's a strategy behind that since it's our off season. But yeah, just being as detailed as possible. Like that's what, and we did this one from Cleveland. Like we lived in Cleveland, Ohio, and like we've been in Des Moines. I grew up spending my summers and every other holiday in the Des Moines area, but like it took a lot of research, but that's what it takes. That's what it takes to have a really good short-term rental. So, if someone wants to buy a vacation home or a second home or something and rent it out, like Holly was talking about this morning, she probably doesn't know a ton about that area that she wants to shop in. So immerse yourself, do a bunch of research, find restaurants, bars, breweries. And then here's our reviews. We have 52 reviews, which is like, I'm like so excited about. When we hit 50, it was a huge feat because not everyone writes reviews and some people have to chase down. But
I saw this one, like, I forget, it showed up in my Twitter. but basically this Airbnb host was like stalking and threatening this person because they gave them like less than an awesome review, but not a terrible review. And it was like, I will basically ruin your life if you don't, take this back and everything. And it was so messed up. So this person was like tagging Airbnb, like, what are you gonna do about this? This person was like, this Airbnb superhost was like stalking the customer or whatever. It was nuts, but I wonder if there are, hosts that do that.
Oh, I'm sure. Like, I mean, people don't realize how big of a part of your business it is. Like, reviews are everything. And so we've actually had, so we don't have a 5-star review because of one guy. And he rented last February. He was in town for a big track meet. He was a big track star, and so was his best friend, and his best friend's daughter was running at one of the Iowa colleges, and they happened to be competing in the area. So he came in town with his family. He was ex-military, and my dad's a veteran. I was in ROTC in college. I have the utmost respect for vets and anyone.
I feel like you hate veterans, I just get that vibe from you.
So, we think that that's a big part of it. He was an ex-Marine. And so like for him, nothing is 5 stars. Like no one gets 5 stars. Like you could be the best freaking dinner.
I don't like staying in Airbnbs because they're all just gross to me. Like they just are. Like they are.
Well,
you can't keep them clean enough. You know what I mean? And so, and I'm a, Marine. So like our version of cleanliness is never ever like normal, so I get that.
But the worst part though was that his review was phenomenal, like his words. So you have to give how many stars on each category, and then also you give a detailed word. His words were phenomenal. So I got the email that he had left a review, and I read through it. It didn't say how many stars he gave on the email notification. It just said the words. So I read through it, and we were doing, in the middle of doing XYZ, and I turned to Carson and I was like, nice, that guy gave us a great review, the one that was in for the track meet, because he really seemed to like his stay. So I wasn't surprised that he gave us a good review, but he went on and on about how great his experience was. And then Carson was like, wait a minute, like a couple hours later, he went on Airbnb on his computer and was like, that guy did not give us a good review. I was like, what? Read the review, like read through the words. What do you mean? He was like, no, he gave us a good verbal review, but his stars did not align with what he was saying. And I legit think it's because like as a Marine, like he just, no one's perfect. Nothing's perfect.
Giving him like a fit rep.
Yeah. So he, like, even though he loved his experience, like in his mind, the Taj Mahal wouldn't be 5 stars, like the governor's wouldn't get 5.
Are you allowed to like reply to reviews and be like, let us know what we could have done to like earn that 5th star or something like that?
Yes. So what his only complaint was we do the Glade plugins. We do one on each floor, nothing over the top or anything. We don't put it on the strongest setting, but it just helps keep it fresh. Because if there's like, if our cleaner goes in right after someone leaves and then there's not someone staying for like 4 or 5 days or something, it gets that stale smell, it's just like whatever. So nothing over the top, but we do have some plugins. He doesn't like plugins. He straight up threw our plugins away. So once he said that, I was like, oh, that's why we can't find our plugins. You not only hate plugins, but you straight up threw our plugins in the trash or stole them or something. I don't know what he did with them, but they were disappearing after that. They disappeared. So I don't know. I just think he was one of those people that like nothing's perfect. So like, even though it had a great experience, like he doesn't believe in 5 stars. There's some cultures that don't believe in like 5 stars. So I don't know, but I mean, he has no idea. He has no idea how much that impacts our business. I mean, he seemed like a reasonable person. If I told him like, oh yeah, like that could make or break our freaking superhost status, thanks for ruining our business model. I'm sure he would have been like, oh, I didn't even realize, but Everyone's perspective is different. So after that, we realized, okay, in our canned messages, we don't just ask for a review when someone leaves. We specifically word it as, hey, we really hope you enjoyed your stay. If you did enjoy it, please leave us a 5-star review, specifically asking for 5-star reviews. So that, to help us better our business and share with, people searching our property down the road or whatever, however we have it worded. I forget exactly what it says, but specifically asking for 5-star reviews, because when that happened to us, we started doing more research on like, how do you get 5-star reviews? And that's what we learned from a lot of other people's experience.
Are you allowed to do this where does Airbnb specifically like have the thing where it's been like a few years, like I literally only stayed at one and then I'm like, Airbnbs are gross. So does it solicit reviews directly? Or I know that there's an app where you can send them the app that solicits reviews, and then if it gives them, it stops them if it's 3 stars and it acts like it did a review, but it didn't, basically.
Oh, I don't know. That's a
Okay,
good.
we'll talk about that app. Somebody showed it to me. It costs too much for it to be worth it for me as a realtor because I don't have enough transactions to make it worth it. It's like $100 a month or something, but since they're so like beneficial to you, it might be worth it for you. So
Yeah.
I'll look back up in my text and get a hold of that app for you.
Yeah, I like it. So right now, our strategy, so I had to fire my cleaner this summer. I'm not afraid to fire someone, and it wasn't pretty. But I had to fire her. She was doing a really great job, and then she didn't, and one strike and you're out in my book. Just be honest.
Yeah, you can't have that with your business.
Exactly. So I fired her, and joke's on me though, because now we don't have a go-to cleaner. My sister is our other cleaner and she does a great job, but she's a hairstylist. And so, she works a lot of hours. She's on her feet constantly. So like, she's not as flexible as we need for someone to be our regular cleaner. So, so I've been cleaning since the summer pretty regularly for us. And I've been trying to interview around and find people, but it's so hard to find someone to trust because you're with your cleaner, you're trusting your entire business. And so it's so hard to find someone that now that we live here. So obviously from Cleveland, I wasn't able to do that. So thank God I fired her when we already moved here. So now I just try to fit it into my schedule. And some days it really sucks. But I know it's going to be done, and it's going to be done right, and it's going to be super clean. So Sandy's coming through, will approve, and leave us a 5-star review.
And Danny's a Marine too. So
okay.
Yeah, I take a different approach though, because if it doesn't have a dirt floor, that's a 5-star place in my mind. So
I'm gonna tornado the place if it doesn't meet my expectations.
No, see, my expectations are so low. Like I left a 5-star review for one that we stayed at in Canada, wine country. It's about 25 minutes north of Niagara Falls. We stayed in one there that we ran out of toilet paper after the first person used the bathroom. Like that's how little there was on the one roll that they provided. To the point that I had to you ride bikes around wineries in this area. It's beautiful if you ever have a chance to get there. It's like Napa Valley, but cleaner. Because it's Canada, and you ride bikes around all these trails. And I straight up had a few glasses of wine. And after a couple of wineries that day, I was like, we're desperate. We need freaking toilet paper. So I went to the bathroom in a winery and stuffed it up my sweater, and then hobbled to my bike and locked it in the basket. I had to steal toilet paper. Toilet paper is like a bare necessity. Now that I'm a host, I think back to that and I'm like, Jesus, all you had to do was one thing. And it's toilet paper, and you couldn't even do
the towels. Okay, this was my only experience. The towels smelled like mildew.
Gross.
The walls were just not freshly. You could see fingerprints and shit all over them, and that's just gross to me. I like clean walls and stuff. We got it because it had a Peloton in it, and I work out at home. I have a Peloton at home. So I'm okay, good. I can get my workouts in while I'm here and everything. And it just was not, it was just that's gross to me. Cause and then the fact that you have to do your own laundry. At the end of it, you have to put all that shit in the washer. You have to like put everything in the dishwasher. You have to take all the, you know, like trash out or whatever. You have all these instructions and stuff. I'm just like, it's not my vibe. And it was like in a gentrified area. I did not realize that like the surrounding neighborhood, I just probably shouldn't have like parked my Porsche in this area. Probably not a good idea. You know, it was just like, just for me, you know, I'll host them. Like, I like this side of it for sure.
I think you had a bad experience for sure. We also have had another bad experience in Canada, in a different area. It was we were his first guests. And I thought that was a great idea because it was like cheap. We got a discount. A lot of people went, you know, to get their first couple guests, they'll give a discount, they'll offer it a little cheaper. So I thought, it was called Goron's Place. So, and it was me and Carson and my best friend since grade school, Riley. The three of us traveled all over Canada, went to Toronto and stuff. And we still freaking joke about Goron's Place. We'll like be texting about something being like not sufficient and we'll be like classic Goron's Place. And that was like 5 years ago now. But yeah, sometimes it's worth like reading, and that's again going back to the reviews. That's why the reviews are everything, because someone that, you know, has stayed in a few Airbnbs and maybe they've had really great experiences and one bad experience like Sandy did, they're going to be even more.
But like, I didn't want to give them a bad review. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to like ruin them. I don't know what they're supposed to be like. That's the only one I ever stayed in. Is that what Airbnbs are supposed to be like? Probably.
No. No. So that's actually something too. So we had one guest. So every Airbnb we stay at always has us like strip the beds and put them on the floor in front of the laundry room. You know, take out the trash, load the dishwasher, do all that kind of stuff that you listed off. So we like to kind of take it to that next level. Because we like to be better than most and, or I should say the best. And we got one person's feedback that was a Sandy that said like, oh, I was on vacation. I really didn't want to, you know, and I'm paying a cleaning fee. I really didn't want to have to, I kind of felt like I was cleaning, you know, and that was kind of her comment. She still gave us a great review, but that was like her private feedback to us. Cause they can leave private feedback to the, host too. And just her, you know, at first I took it personally. I was like, oh my God, like we don't even ask you to do that much stuff compared to other people, like whatever, screw you. And then I was like, no, take a deep breath, step back, like I do in my real estate business with my clients when they're acting a fool. And I'm like, take a deep breath, you know, like let's put ourselves in their shoes. And I was like, okay, I could see that, you know, you're on a vacation. You don't really get to vacation very often. So Des Moines, Iowa is like your big vacation for the year. I wouldn't want to have to do a whole lot either. So maybe I get it, you know, or your flight leaves at 4 a.m., you know, and it's hard to kind of strip the bed and stuff. So we just ask people to leave their bed unmade, which is like, cool, I get up and I'm done. And then we don't even ask them to load the dishwasher because I hate dishwashers. Dishwashers are one of my biggest enemies. I just say leave them rinsed off in the sink. No big deal. You know, you finish your coffee at 4 a.m. before you leave for the airport. All you got to do is rinse it out and leave it in the sink. That's it. And then we do ask people to take their trash out just because if it's like a 12 or 24 hours before our cleaners can get there based on when their schedule aligns with our next guests, there's some smelly fucking trash. Let me tell you, baby diapers, chicken carcasses from Costco rotisserie chickens. I don't know why, but some people get rotisserie chickens on vacation. But yeah, so we learned that the hard way too, because someone's perspective was like, oh, I feel like I'm doing more than I should have to. And so then we stopped asking for so much and just said like, just take out the trash. That's it. So I'm surprised no one's asked me at what our biggest horror story's been.
What's your biggest horror story been?
That's the first thing everyone brings up.
Has anyone done a black couch scene?
No. But we did have so we didn't have our settings set to where you have to book 2 nights plus at first. We were allowing 1 night stays. They were more expensive, but we were allowing them. So last New Year's Eve, the quarterback for you and I booked our place for one night for him and his girlfriend. They were coming to Des Moines to hang out with his friends from high school for New Year's Eve. And I assumed, which never assume anything, right? I assumed that meant like they're coming to Des Moines because it's like the bigger city from where he's from, probably. It's not a college town necessarily, it's a city. So like they want to go out downtown and have like a downtown fun thing because we're close to downtown. Nope, they wanted to throw a party and have way too many people over, even though we have cameras everywhere. I was like, you're so stupid. But yeah, so we learned that the hard way. But that's really been like our only horror story, other than the ex-Marine that gave us not 5 stars.
I have a few questions, Kelsey, if you have time for a few questions.
Yeah, for sure. I know, like, we went over, I think you usually in these at 11, but I'm happy to.
Well, I mean, Sandy had to air her personal,
We're
vendetta
good
against
until
Airbnb.
we're good
So
until 11:30.
Okay.
So you mentioned you've had some midterm rentals. Do you discount your nightly price for that, or do you stick with your normal short-term pricing?
A little bit. So one of our she was actually a traveling respiratory therapist. She stayed in our Airbnb side, the true Airbnb, that first side, for originally she booked for 3 months, but then her contract got cut short, so she ended after 1 month. And in that 1 month, she paid us $3,700. That's what our payout was. She paid over $4,000 to Airbnb and booked through the Airbnb platform. So that's when we were like, holy shit, we should start really trying to hone in on these midterm rentals, because this is where the money's at. You don't have to turn it over all the time.
Well, and don't most of their companies pay that too? It's not necessarily her paying out of her pocket.
Right. They all pretty much get stipends, whether that's, $1,500 or $2,000 or whatever. So the nurses we had on the other side, they weren't paying as much because they didn't go through the Airbnb site. So they went through, so we have all of our properties listed on Airbnb and VRBO, which is huge. I didn't touch on that, but a lot of hosts are like so overwhelmed by the thought that they're listed on more than one site. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like listing your house on the MLS and then it like subsequently also being listed on realtor.com and Zillow and blah, blah, blah. That's pretty much all it is. Just copy and paste all the information. You have to do a little bit more work than that, but like just copy and paste all the information and upload the pictures, and then it is what it is. So we're on Airbnb, VRBO, and then Furnished Finder. So Furnished Finder.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so that's the site that's more for like midterm rentals, travel nurses specifically. And then we also are in a ton of Facebook groups. If you just search like, whatever your area is, Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, Quad Cities, whatever. Short-term rentals, or vacation rentals, or Airbnbs, or there's Furnished Finder specific groups, which is a bunch of travel nurses. And sometimes people will post in there like, hey, I'm a 28-year-old traveling nurse with a dog, and I need a short-term rental in Spencer, Iowa. And then, 3 people will comment on there and be like, here's our listing, and their contracts are 12 weeks at a time. So it's about 3 months. So they're about 3 months at a time, which is great. But you can imagine how much easier that is to manage than turning it over every 3 nights, But yeah, so these nurses on our other side that have been in there since May, we picked them off Furnished Finder, and Furnished Finder is just $99 a year per listing, which is nothing. And then everything else is like you get. So we have those people on a lease, because we don't have that extra layer of protection with Airbnb. We like to put them on a lease, which also, this is good for realtors. It'll also help you when you or your client need to go get pre-approved for that next investment property. Your debt to income on paper to get pre-approved and loans through is going to help if you have leases, because you have to have a short-term rental for 2 years to count any of it as income with almost any lender. I think that'll change down the road maybe, but as of now, it's got to be 2 years. So we can't count, even though we make buco bucks off our Airbnb compared to if we had long-term renters in there, we'd be making $1,200 a side, and we make close to triple that most months. on each side. So like we've, kind of proved to ourselves that if you do it right, instead of having to buy, 4 duplexes and rent out long term, we can make what we need to live off of and to retire, just by doing it right with 1 or 2 duplexes and renting them out for short term or midterm.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. Actually, was your cash flow versus long term rentals? So you would say it's probably double to triple what you would make on a long term rental.
Yep. Yeah. And in our opinion, if it's not double, it's not worth it.
Now, does that, as far as your like net profit goes, since you do have increased costs with the turnover, the more frequent turnover, as far as net profit goes, would that hold true about double to? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't consider anything income until we subtract out all the utilities, the internet, our cleaning fees, our maintenance that goes into it. All the furnishings. It took us about, this is a fun little fact. So for a 2-bed, 1 full, 1 half bathroom, furnished rental, it cost us about $11,000 to $12,000 to furnish it. So you could see there's a pretty hefty buy-in. We don't buy the nicest furniture. I'm a bargain shopper. For both of our units, the first one, I got some free furniture from a seller in Cleveland that needed to get rid of a lot of furniture. Her sister had passed away and she was hiring me to sell the house. So she was like, please take whatever you can for your Airbnbs. And then on our second property, we were moving to Des Moines when we were furnishing it. So we kind of donated a couple pieces of our furniture to that, to furnishing that. And we still were paying about $11,000 to $12,000 to furnish it. So, that buy-in needs to be considered as well. And I get people's reluctancy to do that because there's a risk of like, oh, then I'll be stuck with $10,000 worth of furniture. But we took that risk and it took us almost exactly 4 months to pay that off completely.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of like our rule of thumb is once we hit that 4 to 5 month mark, we did the math and we were like, all right, all the furniture is paid for. We're now at 0, like we've wiped that clean. So, and then you have your regular things you have to invest into, like your cleaning products and, you always got to replace towels every once in a while and sheets and all that. But yeah, so for a 2-bed, 2-bath, about 11 to 12 grand.
What about, I was going to ask specifically about your bedding, because that's kind of like such a, hit and miss thing. Do you splurge on that or do you go cheap? Like, it's so crazy.
Yeah, so we go like halfway between there because I believe in having nice sheets. But I try to find, I only do 400 thread count because I'm a snob. So I find the cheapest 400 thread counts, which usually are like probably at Target. And then I like shopping at Target because they carry the same shit all the time. So if you got to replace pillowcases, they still match the other pillowcases and, all that kind of stuff. And same thing, we get our towels from Costco. They have the like hotel line of white towels and hand towels and washcloths. And so we love that. So between Target and Costco, that's where I get all actually of our like regularly needed to purchased items.
I didn't think about Costco bedding. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we only try to get anything at Costco. We got when we furnished our Airbnb, we told ourselves like anything we're getting from Costco needs to be something that Costco carries all the time, right? Because like we all know Costco will have a really cute Fila pullover one time and then you go 3 days later and it's sold out and now they've got like ugly jackets from Columbia or something. So, we really strategized with like, all right, we've been shopping at Costco for several years now. We know they carry these white towels, the same freaking brand, the same 6-pack of towels at every Costco, no matter where you're at year after year. So we tried to really strategize with like, all right, if we want to keep this consistent and easy, because, it sucks to have to run to Costco before I run over to our investment property. If I'm not already going there, I try to time it. I'm very efficient. So I try to time it around when I need to go to Costco anyways. And then I just check out twice. But yeah, so Costco and Target are the real MVPs. And then for our furnishing, Amazon. We get a lot of our furniture off Amazon. The bed in a box, phenomenal and cheap too. Like we had one, that respiratory therapist actually that stayed there for a month. She complained about the bed. She had just got back surgery, which is on her. Who wants to travel for work when you got, yeah, she had just gotten back surgery. And our beds since then, it's the same mattress. Everyone rants and rave about how comfortable it was. So she was really just a negative Nancy and a complainer. But I straight up told her, I go, you pick out a bed. Your budget is $1,700. You pick out a bed. We will buy whatever bed you want. Because that's how much money we were making off her. We were like, up until this purchase price, like it makes sense for us to just buy the damn mattress and have it shipped there. We'll have our maintenance guy, my brother, go in and take the other mattress out and we'll just use that for the next Airbnb. It's fine, but it was worth it. Like, I mean, she was basically renting. I think our pocketed income was like $3,400 off that lady for 1 month. So when she was going to stay for 3 months, we were like, it's totally worth going up to XYZ dollars for a new bed for her. And we told her to pick it out too. I was like, you pick it out. But, blackout curtains. Blackout curtains are a must if you want to specialize in midterm rentals. But yeah, good question.
What's the longest you've ever had a guest stay? I'm sure you answered this already.
Yeah, May 15th through December 13th. So May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So 7 months. I have a friend in Cleveland though that's had an Airbnb for 2.5 years. And one of the like 5th or 6th guests they had through, it's in like a suburb, like kind of a suburb of Cleveland. And this guy from California was going to be there on business during COVID. And he asked to do like month to month off app on a lease after his first week there. So they did it. And I think he's still in it. I think he's still there. And he was like this big shot CEO kind of guy from California. And he, after a month or two, was like, hey, can I mow the lawn? And they were like, why? And he was like, well, I just love mowing the lawn. And I've lived in California, in like a downtown environment for so long. I just would really love to mow the lawn for you guys. And they were like, sure. And then he also had a Tesla. And this was before Teslas were cool. And he was like, hey, can I have an electrician install a Tesla charger? And then I'll leave it whenever I move out someday. And then you guys, can just keep it. And they were like, okay, sure. And he was like there for years. And I really think he's still there. I'll have to ask him. But yeah, he just like loved this little house.
Could I upgrade this kitchen and put granite in here?
I know. Sure. Oh, I guess, but you'll have to pay us a little extra. But yeah, it's just funny.
Nuts. That is like the best case scenario. Seriously, could you imagine that?
For real. No, when they told me that story, I was like, that's it. Like, we have to get involved with Airbnbs. Like what? People like that exist. I don't know.
Have you ever gotten a real estate deal from it?
So I'm actually kind of in the middle of that. So this family is moving to Des Moines from Austin, Texas, and they are in the middle of putting their house up on the market there. And then in the new year, she will start her job at Drake University, and they need a furnished rental to live at for a few months at least while they like take their time, because they don't want to just buy a house from afar. They want to like really shop the area because they've got 2 little kids and they know they're going to be there for a while. So they want to get here, stay in our Airbnb, and then, figure out exactly what locations they like, because they like eclectic too, which I think takes time, rather than like if you want suburban close to Costco, it's pretty easy to shop that from Texas in Iowa, because that means you're shopping West Des Moines and Johnston and, like Waukee, and that's it, but if you want like an eclectic, artsy, older home type of like neighborhood vibe, that's something you can't, in my opinion, as a realtor and a homeowner, like just like willy-nilly shop, right? Because 3 streets over could be the ghetto, but the street you want to live on is, great, so I don't know. I think that they need to get here and shop for a little bit, but she was like, okay. So we they wiggled us down in price per month. And I actually showed her the property a few weeks ago. She was in town with her mom, looking at areas and a couple furnished rentals, ours being one of them. And she was like, we really like your Airbnb. Like, we really like it. And she was like, and I really like you. I want to be friends with you. And she was like, not to be weird, but you seem cool. And you guys seem like you have a lot in common with us. And she was like, so I really want this to work, but unfortunately, you're a little above our budget. This is our budget. So I was like, you know what? Let me talk with Carson. I kind of used him as like this scapegoat bad guy. I was like, he runs our numbers. Let me talk to him. And they seem like really good people. And then she also added the icing on the cake. This is how good at negotiating she is. She was like, also, we don't really have a realtor in Des Moines yet. So, if it'll help at all, like, we'd love to use you as a realtor too, because you seem really great at all this real estate stuff. So, if that'll help out at all, like, we'd love to use you as our agent too when we get here and want to start shopping. And I was like, okay, like, little inappropriate, just because I don't love mixing my business with our short-term rentals, but so I wanted to be appropriate about it. But I basically told her, I was like, the rental's yours, will come to your price if you'll come up to this. And because they do seem like great people and good people to work with, and that's a huge part of renting out your place. And I was also like, if you want to use me as your realtor, great. If you don't, you're not going to hurt my feelings or anything. Like, if I'm not a good fit for people, I don't make them sign any agreement as a realtor. I don't believe in doing that with my business.
It becomes a nightmare anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can get out of it. Like, it keeps them held to nothing. If they don't like working with you, they're just going to ask for a way out of that agreement. So, I really build relationships with my clients to where I know they're not going to cheat on me with another realtor anyways, because they think I know more than everyone else anyways. So, same kind of thing. I'm like, if you want to use me, great. If not, whatever. So that's our first experience with my business overlapping with, our renters. But I'm excited for it.
Kelsey, this has been absolutely amazing. My God.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kelsey. This was awesome.
Yeah, I never know what people's goals are, like, is your goal, Sandy, to be able to speak to short-term rentals when you're helping your investors, or is your goal to maybe own your own short-term rental down the road someday? So, I try to like accommodate all those different goals and have purpose with what I'm like trying to tell everyone, because there's a lot to this. Like, it's a whole business.
I posted the link to my idea list one more time, you guys, because I'm going to keep adding to it. And if Kelsey ever shoots me more, like if she shoots me other ideas or texts, I'll just keep adding to it. It'll keep growing. So save that link if you guys want.
Good idea. I love it. Yeah, since I shop at the 3 big Amazon, Costco, Target, my like go-tos for when we furnish are like saved on all those sites, but it's like not in one nice list. So
yeah, and it's like you don't even have to like buy it on Amazon, just at least it's on, like, it's an idea on there. You know what I mean? I mean, the books, it's like usually makes sense to do it there and stuff, but the Costco idea for bedding and things like that, I love that idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does anyone else listen to Bigger Pockets?
Yeah, I have for a long time.
Good. It's awesome.
And I'm
more in the long-term stuff. I've never gotten into
short
short-term.
What was that, Sandy?
You go, Danny.
I say I've always been in I have a pretty decent long-term portfolio, and I've gotten into syndications lately, and it all stemmed from that. But this is something my wife and I have been discussing for a while now, because of what you said, like the cash flow is so much more significant in this type of investing versus long-term. I think I think blending the two is a really solid play. Personally, you have the stability and less kind of day-to-day with the long-term rentals. But then you have the significantly higher cash flow, albeit with a little more work on the short-term side. So we're kind of trying to, we're in the middle of liquidating some of the positions we've held for a long time. And we have some bigger deals about to finish up. So we're kind of looking at our next moves, and I think this is something we definitely, but yeah, long story short, I know you didn't ask any of those questions. I just like to ramble, but yes, it all kind of did stem from Bigger Pockets, and honestly from Rich Dad Poor Dad, which led me to Bigger Pockets, which kind of led me here. So
No, I love that. And, you know, the cash flow is obviously like a majority part of it, but a little bonus part that some people don't really think about until they experience both ends is the quality of renter too. So
yes,
like when we bought this duplex that we run the 2 Airbnbs I showed you guys today out of, we had a long-term guy and his high school daughter on one side, renting for $1,200 a month, which was like kind of high for South Des Moines because it's a nice, you know, updated place. So they were paying kind of premium rent. So we had that, you know, $1,200 coming in a month. So we felt which more than pays what our monthly expenses are, like mortgage wise. So we felt very comfortable taking the risk of doing a short-term rental on the other side because we had that steady income on that side. So we thought, wow, what a great business model, right? We buy all these duplexes, one half pays all the bills on it, the other half is bonus, and we can do an Airbnb. We've got the, you know, the steady income, but then if it's slow on the other side, it'll pay for, you know, like, so what a safe business model. That's what we thought at first. Then we started being successful at the Airbnb side, and our long-term renter was an asshole and a shithead and dealing drugs out of our duplex. And that
been
was
there.
yeah. And so I literally was like, that's it, you know. So he wanted out of his lease early. I said, no issue,
Yeah.
Curtis, you get out of this lease. This is all about you. What do you need? And then as soon as he left, I said, let's do another Airbnb because I'm not getting another South Side of Des Moines shithead in my freaking duplex. It's nice as hell. And, you know, and he's a liability. I don't care how steady of income it is with long-term. Sometimes it's not worth the liability. So that's why we started doing the 2 short-term rentals out of one property. And then that's why the midterm rentals and having them on leases is great for, you know, getting pre-approved for our next property and stuff, because we can present that and they'll count 75% of that lease as income for us. So it'll wipe that clean or show a little bit of income, which is great. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, talking about tenant quality, my horror stories on the long-term side are much worse than, you know, a quarterback throwing a party. It's like,
right.
you know, suicide, literal bags of cats, like fires, you know. I had a guy that had his water shut off for 2 months and just kept pooping in the house and hiding it in plastic bags all over the place. Like, so like, that's kind of what we're trying to get away from, obviously, because it's horrible. So yeah, that's a good point that no one really talks about though, Kelsey, is that your tenant quality is much higher. And like you said, you can pass on them much easier because when you have that kind of turnover, you don't have to be like, and with the cash flow being higher, you don't have to be so desperate to get someone in because you might only be making 8 to 10% cash flow on a long-term rental. Like, you can't let it sit for 2 months and be picky. Sometimes you have to keep them going. So that's a really interesting point. I'm glad you brought that up because I've literally never heard anyone talk about that.
Well, and
Okay, I'm kicking you guys all out in a second, but I have one last question. So, you know how like they say, you know, if like your deadbeat boyfriend moves in and like sleeps on the couch for like 3 days and then gets one piece of mail that like you have to like officially evict him. So like what happens if somebody, you know, is staying there for a week or something and does that? Would you have to officially evict somebody if they did decide to be a shithead? What's protecting you?
So Airbnb has like maybe a $2 million policy now. And then we have our own insurance as well to cover us. But with short-term rentals, it's a little different, right? Because that guy isn't on a lease saying it's his home for a year. He's on an agreement through an app platform that is worldwide and one of the most successful companies of all time, backing us, saying, no, he rented it for a week. That dude's got to get out. So I think you're definitely more protected through some of these platforms in that regard. And then also too, like Iowa, luckily, happens to be a more landlord-friendly state than other states. So would I have a short-term rental during COVID in California or Seattle? Probably not, because odds are I might have some homeless people posting up in there, calling it their house and dicking me over. So, you know, like I think it's just with any investing with real estate, it's smart to look into the laws and look into the history of where that state lies. Are they landlord friendly because the landlord's paying the taxes, or are they Seattle where they let homeless people live up everywhere?
Well, thanks so much this was amazing, Kelsey.
Yeah.
This was awesome. For the rest of you, this is going to be up on YouTube very soon. So Kelsey's horrible voice will live in infamy.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Love it. Thank
No,
you.
this was
Thank you for having me.
super awesome. I actually, just like you said, I wasn't sure what I would get out of this, and it was fucking riveting as far as I'm concerned. Loved
Yeah,
it.
fun fact, the first house I ever sold in 2018 when I got my license as a realtor was an Airbnb. And it was awesome, but I got lucky. So that's why I'm really passionate about educating realtors on like, this is what you need to be coaching your investor clients on looking for, because they could buy the wrong thing. And luckily I knew a lot about Airbnb as a traveler, but I mean, I got lucky.
Well, I know who I'm calling if I ever have any questions, so.
For sure. Always
And
open.
yeah, and if you want to give any info or whatever, I will definitely link that in YouTube as well. So thanks a lot. And anybody that's not invited to my 11:30 meeting, get out.
Bye.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Yeah,
you
you're
guys.
Bye,
welcome.
guys.